Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. For today's video, we're going to go over the new way to publish an existing SharePoint Online site to the SharePoint Global Templates, the My Organizations tab. Thanks for watching our video. At Bauer Automate, we're committed to helping businesses like yours achieve goals through technology, automation, and digital transformation. We've got over a decade of experience in the field, and we have knowledge on guiding you to select the right tools and strategies to improve your productivity and help you stay ahead of the competition. Whether you want to automate some processes, improve collaboration, or make data-driven decisions, our team is here to help. Join us for regular tips and tricks on training with low-code and no-code development, and learn how to unlock the full potential of your business with technology today. Thanks for joining our channel. I'm Riley, and let's get started. So for today's video, we're going to go over, again, cloning a SharePoint site to the template store. We're going to be able to put it in the My Organizations menu, and we're going to be using PowerShell to accomplish this. Traditionally, this was very easy in SharePoint Classic. You were able to export this with a couple clicks and save it to the template site. But with SharePoint Online, they've changed this now, and that's not an option. So we have to work around it. I'm not a programmer, and I know my audience isn't either, so I've prepared the PowerShell script for you, and in today's video, we're going to walk through setting it up. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cover why should we clone an existing site. Sometimes when you're working on a project, you might have a development environment, a test environment, and a production environment. So maybe you need to have 3 copies of the exact same SharePoint site. Maybe you're starting a project management or program management SharePoint site and you want to have a repeated set of templates. Or maybe you're booking appointments for your clients and you want to keep track of all their records and files in a similar manner. So you want a SharePoint site as a template. Since I'm not a programmer, I like to start with my SharePoint site first, make a SharePoint site in SharePoint, and then I can copy it and do some work there. So we're going to go through today, and I'm going to show you how to export a SharePoint site using the template. So first things first, landing on SharePoint here, we have our project site. We've put this site together and we're pretty happy with it. Got a couple things on our home page, but we've put together some lists, like a list of our projects and a list of the losses related to those projects. And so we just want to reuse this. We like what we've done here and want to move ahead. So what we would do is traditionally you'd click through SharePoint Classic and export the site. Since we can't do that, we're going to have to go and export the site through PowerShell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up PowerShell ISE on my computer. You can just type that in from the search. And we're going to put open up the script that I have on the my site, link below. I'm going to walk you through what's in the script first, and then we're going to run it to see how quick and easy this is. So first things first, we want to make sure that you already have the SharePoint Online PowerShell and that you're a global administrator or a SharePoint administrator. If you don't have the SharePoint Online PowerShell module, my script here on the first few lines will install it for you so that you don't have to worry about that. Then if we look next, we have some variables. So just to talk these through, we have an option to export the site from the web. So we have an existing SharePoint site online and we want to export that. So for today's demo, we'll set that to true. We want to export a backup file as well, and we'll set that to true. And we'd like to create a global template in the SharePoint Global Template Store, so we'll create that as well. Next up, we have some parameters here for our SharePoint connection. So we need the base URL, the company name.sharepoint.com. So in my case, it's rileybauer.sharepoint.com. And then for the company display name, we set it to the company's name, which is Bauer Automate. And then the last 2 parameters here is we pick a site title for the new site, which will be the template name. And then we look for the current site. So as I mentioned, we already have an existing project site that I want to copy. So if we look at the top bar URL here, we have the projects, and that's what we're going to put in the script is going to be the matching short name. Going through the rest of the script to explain the steps, we then take those variables and we build the admin URL. So https-rileybauer user-admin.sharepoint.com. The site URL, https://rileybauer.sharepoint.com/sites/projects. And then the output folder, we want to put this somewhere simple. So I just have this exporting it to your downloads folder, so the user profile /downloads, and then / the new site title. So this will be downloads / quick project template. And then the output file goes into the same folder. We do have to select which lists and libraries we would like to export, and we do need to use the proper names on SharePoint. If there's a space, you need to put the %20. So it's shared %20 documents. I want to copy my site pages, my losses list, and my projects list. Then the script will go and connect to SharePoint and connect to that URL. And if we want to export it from the web, we export that SharePoint list from the web. If we want to create the backup file, it will create the backup file in your downloads folder. And then if you want to publish the site template, it will publish the site template above. So if you've copied my script, all you need to do is update the first few lines of code here, whether or not you want to export the backup file. And then we have your base URL, company URL, and the first 28 lines of code here are really just variables to set the script up. Once that's done and we're in ISE and you've customized this, you can go ahead and test the script. This should just work and create the site for you. So if I just go ahead and hit the play button here, which will run this PowerShell script, it runs, it'll pop up a prompt for Office 365 so I can log in, and then the script will run for a moment and it will spit out, if there's no errors, then we know we're successful. So if I just take a look at the output here, we've got tells me which file it put the file in, and then it tells me the ID of the project template that was made. So now we can see that that's good to go, and you can start using this on your next SharePoint site. So if we were to go back to SharePoint and just refresh this page, on the top bar we've got the gear for your settings, and then when that loads up here, we can actually click apply a site template from the menu, and then in our from your organization tab, you now have the quick project template that we just created. So that will copy the site and apply all of these settings. If you click the details, you can see each of the steps it's doing. So it's creating all the columns and updating the views and setting up the list. Really cool. It takes a few minutes to run when we click use template, and then it will apply it on top of the site. So sit for a few minutes, and then it'll apply our template, and we're off to the races, and we're good to go. So we can see the progress here on that little top bar notification, and it shows each of the steps it's doing. We come back in a few minutes, and this will be done. To spare you from waiting, we're going to go ahead and take a look at a little bit more complicated of a version here. So what if your SharePoint site is really complex? I didn't realize this, but there's a 100,000 character limit on actually using a PowerShell script for SharePoint. And so what I had to do when I had a really complex site is I had to split the file into multiple files. So when I exported my site, I got an error saying that the site scripts were too long, and I had to do a little more thinking. So since we've exported that whole site folder, we can see the outputs of that export. And somewhere in here we have the projects file, which is usually the largest one, and that has a list of everything that's actually in the PowerShell script. So looking through this here, we have some different sections, and all I did to copy this was I looked at a blog post from De facto, and they had outlined a lot of the structure of these PowerShell scripts, and I was able to kind of reverse engineer it and see that we have our schema line, a command, and then this little structure at the end. So what I did was I looked through each of our files here, and I found the create SharePoint list verb, and I just selected this until we got to the end of the close brackets, and then I was copying and pasting this. So I would take that and I would copy it, and then I would make a new file and I would paste that into here, and then on that file we just have to copy the first few lines of code from the other file and the last few lines of code from the other file. So we need to get the first 3 lines here for the schema and actions and paste that at the beginning. And then we need to go to the very end of this code and grab the last 2 brackets there and paste these in at the end of our file. And then we can save this, and we can do this again and again for each one of the lists and libraries we want to take if we have a complicated one. For example, on this this specific script here, we have 7 libraries that are being created. We have the shared documents, we're copying over the pages, decisions, issues, project members, projects, lists, risks, tasks, time entries, and the time entries report. So there's 10 lists that are coming over with this SharePoint site, and we want to make sure we capture them all. So we do have to go through that output file and split all 10 of the lists into 10 separate files. And then you should have something like I have here, where you've got each of your lists as its own little text file in the same folder as your script. This script is pretty much the same as the other one. There's just a couple extra variables. So at the beginning here, we have the same export from web, but I've also added options here to import from an existing file or to import from multiple files. So if we have multiple files like we do in this case, we set that to true, and then we're going to want to create the global template. Same base URL, same template information here. We set our lists, but then we have to go through and just make sure we set all of our files as well. So I have these in file, and we just make 1, 2, 3, 10 copies of it based on each one of the files that you have for your lists or libraries. Then we also have to make a file name for each of those scripts, so we put these names in here as well. And from there, the script will take our 10 files and generate our site template accordingly. So if we're to go through here, there's just a couple spots where we have to put in our multiple files and copy it over, and then we have to put our site script IDs in here as well. Once that's taken care of, we can run this script and deploy our very complex template. So I'm just going to hit play again, and we'll see that the login session has popped up. And as it sits there and spins for a moment, it's going to connect to SharePoint and take my 10 files and create the template. So we'll see here it spit it out with no errors. It loads up a list of all the existing SharePoint site templates, and then it shows the site designs. So the quick project template we previously made, and then our new project template that we have just made. Notice here on the quick project template, there's only one site script ID right here. But if we look at the site script IDs for this project template, we have multiple because there are 10 to make the 10 different lists and libraries. If we come back to our SharePoint site again here, and we refresh the page, which I did by pressing the F5 key on the keyboard, we can hit the gear again and see the other template available now, and apply that one instead. So I can click the gear, click Apply a Site Template, and then from your organization, we have the quick project template we just made and the project template that we are going to use now because we just made this one. Click on Details, we can see a whole bunch of more steps here. It's a much longer script, and then we can use this template. And so SharePoint's just going to spin for a few minutes and apply this template as well. And then we've now got our really complex site template deployed out to our SharePoint. So with that being said, that wraps today's video. This is a companion video to an existing blog post on BauerAutomate.com. So I please encourage you to check out the link in the description and provide any comments on our first video here for 2023. Thanks everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your day. How'd I get upside down? What?